They thought Ariana Brooks was the quiet nobody they could break in front of the whole gym. Wrong girl, wrong day, and definitely the wrong wrist to grab. In a school where bullies ruled every hallway, Ariana walked in with one simple warning: "I'm a karate black belt." They laughed, they mocked, they attacked, but 5 minutes later, the only sounds echoing across the court were groans, shattered pride, and bodies hitting the floor. Her calm? Terrifying. Their downfall? Inevitable. The hallway of Northview High pulsed like a living creature during break time, lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking, conversations colliding in messy bursts of noise. It was chaos, loud and unfiltered, the kind of environment where newcomers were swallowed whole in seconds. But when Ariana Brooks stepped inside for the first time, something in that chaos shifted. She walked with quiet, steady steps, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her eyes lowered not out of fear, but out of intention. She didn't need anyone's attention. She didn't want anyone's approval. Her presence was gentle, but there was a strange gravity around her, something silent, yet unmistakably firm. And people noticed. They always did, even if she wished they didn't. At the end of the hall, Kelly Rowan, one of the few students with empathy still intact, stopped mid-sentence. "Who's that?" she whispered to no one in particular, watching Ariana weave through the crowd like water cutting through stone. But not everyone saw Ariana with curiosity. Some saw opportunity. Near the row of orange lockers, Logan Pierce, captain of the basketball team and self-proclaimed king of the hallway, leaned back with his arms crossed. His grin sharpened the moment he spotted her. "New girl," he muttered, nudging the boy beside him. "Perfect." Mason Hale, always carrying his phone as if it were glued to his hand, smirked. "Look at her. Doesn't even make eye contact. She'll be easy." "Exactly," Logan replied. "Let's welcome her properly." It wasn't kindness. It was territory. Logan liked making examples out of people, especially the quiet ones. It reminded everyone who ran this place. Ariana approached, unaware she was walking straight into his line of sight. As she passed Mason, he stepped forward abruptly, pretending to adjust his jacket but really aiming to shoulder check her hard enough to throw her off balance. The move was quick, calculated, practiced. He'd done it to countless freshmen before. Except Ariana moved. Not a flinch, not a stumble. A clean, precise slip to the side, so smooth it almost looked accidental, like she drifted on air rather than dodged an attack. Mason's shoulder missed entirely, sending him stumbling half a step. He blinked, confused, as if the laws of physics had betrayed him. Ariana didn't even look back. She kept walking, the same calm pace, the same steady breathing. Only her eyes shifted barely toward the floor ahead, as though confirming she had done nothing more than avoid a puddle of water. But Kelly saw everything, and so did Logan. "Yo, did she just dodge that?" Mason hissed, embarrassed. Logan's grin widened dangerously. "She did, and she thinks we didn't notice." Kelly's chest tightened. She could already sense where this was going. "Leave her alone, Logan," she muttered under her breath, though she knew he wouldn't hear or care. But Logan was no longer watching the hallway. He was watching Ariana, tracking her like a predator marking prey. Because in his world, no one avoided his boys. No one ignored him. And absolutely no one made them look stupid on day one. Ariana walked toward her next class, unaware that her single, effortless dodge had just painted a target on her back. But in that one moment, one tiny, instinctive movement, her fate locked into the gaze of someone who lived for the thrill of domination. And Logan Pierce decided, right then and there, that Ariana Brooks would be his next lesson, his next show, his next victim. And he would begin that lesson in the perfect place during PE class later that afternoon. The locker room of Northview High's gym always smelled like sweat, ego, and the kind of arrogance that came from boys who had never been told no in their lives. Metal lockers clanged open and shut, jerseys hung from hooks, and the echo of basketballs bouncing on the court outside seeped faintly through the door. Inside, Logan Pierce, still irritated but masking it with swagger, slammed his locker shut. "Did you see that little stunt she pulled?" he muttered, tossing his towel onto the bench. "Dodging Mason like she's in some action movie?" Mason scowled, pacing in front of the mirror. "I don't know how she did it. I swear I went straight for her. She shouldn't have been able to move that fast," Logan smirked. "Well, she did, and now she thinks she's special." He kicked the bench lightly, annoyance simmering beneath his voice. "We can't let that slide." In the far corner, sitting half-shadowed, was Theo Grant, the quiet one. The one who rarely spoke unless spoken to. Most people forgot he was even on the team, but those who paid attention knew one thing. Theo watched everything, and he remembered everything. "Logan's right," Mason said, picking up his phone. "We need to do something. Put her in her place. I can record it. Make it go viral in like 1 hour." Logan's grin grew sharper. "Exactly. Northview loves a good humiliation clip, and if the new girl becomes the next meme, even better." He cracked his knuckles, picturing the scene, Ariana flinching, stumbling, maybe even crying. The students laughing, his name trending in group chats for being savage. Yes, that's what he lived for. But before Logan could outline the plan, a voice cut through the locker room, low, calm, and surprisingly firm. "Don't make it subtle." Both Logan and Mason turned. Theo leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes dark with something unreadable. "What?" Mason frowned. Theo stood up slowly, closing his locker with a deliberate click. "If you want to test her, don't do a weak shove in the hallway. She dodged that. Make it bigger, harder. Something she can't slip out of." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Hit her where she won't see it coming." For the first time, Logan blinked in surprise. Theo, quiet, passive. Theo was suggesting escalation? A grin spread across Logan's face, wicked and entertained. "Damn, Theo. Didn't know you had ideas." Theo shrugged. "People like her. The quiet ones. They're either fake tough or they break easy. Let's find out which she is." Mason laughed. "Man, I didn't know you cared about this stuff." "I don't," Theo replied coldly. "I just don't like her attitude." Logan clapped Theo on the shoulder. "All right then, we'll go all in." He grabbed Mason's phone from his hand and flipped it to video mode. "This is perfect. We'll corner her in gym class today. No teachers around, no one paying attention. Just us and her." Mason grinned, rubbing his palms together. "And the moment she reacts? Boom, got it on camera. She'll be famous by lunchtime." Theo crossed his arms, expression unreadable. "Just make sure it's clean. No hesitation. She moves fast." Logan scoffed. "Bro, she's a tiny girl. What's she gonna do? Punch me?" Theo didn't answer. He simply stared at Logan, his silence carrying a warning no one bothered to interpret. Logan stretched, confidence bubbling. "All right, boys. Today we make a statement." Mason raised his phone like a trophy. Theo stood still, his gaze distant, calculating something the others couldn't see. But none of them understood the truth. The moment they chose Ariana as prey, they had already stepped into the lion's den. They weren't hunting her. They were walking straight toward their own downfall. But the three of them had no idea they were about to open a door leading to the worst nightmare of their lives, and they chose the perfect moment to strike. E-class that afternoon. The gym echoed with the thud of basketballs, the shrill whistle of sneakers on polished wood, and the chatter of students who were more focused on gossip than physical education. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, casting long beams across the floor like spotlights on a stage, an unintentional omen of the confrontation brewing beneath the surface. Ariana Brooks stepped inside quietly, her gym uniform crisp and simple. She tied her hair back, eyes calm as always, though anyone watching closely might have noticed how she scanned the room, not nervously, but analytically. Every corner, every exit, every person. She had learned to do that long before arriving at Northview High. Coach Duran, a tall man with a whistle permanently hanging around his neck, blew sharply. "All right, class, split into groups of 4. We've got circuit drills today." Within seconds, chaos resumed as students rushed to join friends. But Ariana didn't rush. She simply waited, which made her the perfect target. From across the gym, Logan elbowed Mason. "Watch this," he muttered, swaggering toward the center. The moment Coach Duran glanced away, Logan raised his hand theatrically. "Coach, we're one short over here. Put the new girl with us." The request was loud enough for everyone to hear but subtle enough to pass as innocent. Coach Duran turned, eyes landing on Ariana with the faintest irritation. He never liked transfer students. They disrupted routines, asked questions, and needed attention he didn't care to give. Ariana, however, had something else he hated: composure. She didn't look scared or lost like most new kids. She made him uncomfortable. "Brooks," he barked, pointing in Logan's direction. "Group 4. Go." Ariana nodded politely and walked toward Logan's group. Mason smirked. Theo watched her with calculating eyes. Logan grinned like a man stepping onto his favorite playground. As she joined their formation, Mason whispered intentionally loud, "Wow, lucky us. We get the transfer project." Theo snorted. "Hope she doesn't break a nail." Several students nearby laughed. Coach Duran heard it. He definitely did, but pretended not to. He turned his back fully, flipping open his clipboard as if Ariana were air. And Ariana saw that. She saw everything. But instead of frowning or shrinking away, she smiled. A small, soft, almost imperceptible smile. Logan's spine tightened. It wasn't a nervous smile. It wasn't a forced smile. It was the calm, knowing smile of someone who had already survived far worse. It was the smile of someone who understood power more than any of them did. The drills began. Students jogged from station to station. But Logan's group stayed behind, intentionally slow. They nudged Ariana, blocked her path, whispered comments meant to irritate her. "Move, new girl," Mason muttered, after purposely stepping in front of her. "You're too slow." Another shove from Theo. A shoulder bump from Logan. She didn't react. Not even a flicker. Coach Duran glanced up once, saw her being nudged aside, and looked away again. "Handle it yourselves," his silence seemed to say. And Ariana's smile deepened just slightly. It was then Logan felt something he rarely felt around his victims. A chill. Her eyes met his for a single second. Not frightened, not angry, but expectant. Like she was watching a scene unfold exactly as predicted. Like she already knew the ending. "What the hell is she smiling at?" Logan muttered, jaw tightening. Mason shrugged. "Maybe she's scared." "No," Theo said flatly. "That's not fear." Logan clenched his fists. If anything, the smile made him want to push harder, hit harder, prove something he didn't even know what. But he couldn't let a quiet new girl get inside his head. Not in his gym. Not on his court. The drill whistle blew again, signaling a rotation. Students scattered, leaving Ariana briefly alone near the storage racks. Logan's chance. His moment. And the moment he decided to escalate. Because that smile, it was as if she already knew the fate of every person who dared step into her life. And Logan Pierce chose that exact moment when Ariana stood isolated and exposed to make his move. The far corner of the gym was always dimmer than the rest, shadows pooling behind the equipment racks where the lights never fully reached. It was the one spot Coach Duran never bothered to check, the place where students whispered secrets, exchanged insults, or hid when they didn't want to participate. And today, it became the stage for something else. Ariana Brooks paused by the corner, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead after finishing her drill. She bent to retie her shoelaces, unaware or maybe perfectly aware of the figures closing in behind her. Logan Pierce approached first, swagger in every step, jaw tight with a dangerous mix of anger and ego. Right behind him was Mason Hale, phone already raised, camera blinking red. "Perfect lighting," Mason muttered, angling the phone. "This is gonna be gold." Logan exhaled deeply, rolling his shoulders like he was about to step into a boxing ring. "Hey, new girl," he called, voice loud enough to echo off the gym walls. "You got a second?" Ariana didn't turn. Not immediately. Instead, she finished tying her shoe, stood up slowly, brushed her hands off, and finally faced them calm, expression unreadable. Logan smiled like a wolf. "So polite," he taunted. "Didn't think you people had manners." The words hit the air like a cracked whip. Mason snickered. "This is perfect. Keep going." Students nearby glanced over, but no one stepped in. Some froze, unsure. Others watched with sick anticipation. A few whispered, "Is he seriously doing this?" But none dared interrupt Logan Pierce in his chosen arena. Ariana stood still, her breathing even. Logan stepped closer, until he towered over her. "What's wrong? No smart comeback? No attitude? Nothing to say?" His voice rose theatrically. "Guess you really are just some charity case transfer they dumped here." The insult rippled through the gathered students. Some gasped. Others laughed nervously. Mason zoomed in, capturing every second. Ariana remained silent. Logan's smirk sharpened. He reached out and grabbed her wrist, fingers clamping down with the confidence of someone who had never suffered consequences. "This wrist," he sneered, lifting it slightly. "Is that what you used to dodge my boy earlier?" "Huh?" He squeezed harder. "And harder," Mason whispered. Yes, this is the shot." Ariana didn't pull away. She didn't recoil. She simply let him hold her wrist, letting the pressure sink in, letting his grip tighten to the point where most students would have gasped or yanked free. But her face stayed neutral, calm, almost bored. Logan's confidence ballooned instantly. "She's weak," he muttered under his breath. "She can't even pull her hand back." He squeezed again, wanting her to flinch, craving it. But nothing. Instead, Ariana tilted her head just slightly and looked at him with a softness that made no sense in this moment. A softness that wasn't fear. It was patience. The kind of patience that made Logan's stomach twist, though he didn't understand why. "You think you're tough now?" he barked, raising his voice so the entire class could hear. "You think one cute little dodge makes you something?" The crowd murmured, shifting uneasily. Something felt off. Mason zoomed in tighter. "Peak humiliation," he whispered, thrilled. But Logan didn't notice. He was too busy feeding his ego. He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a venomous hiss. "Say something. Anything." Ariana finally inhaled, steady and measured. Her eyes lifted to meet his calm, controlled, unshaken, and she spoke. Not loud, not trembling, not angry, just calm. "If you're trying to scare me, you should squeeze harder." Logan froze. Mason blinked. The entire gym seemed to lose sound for a split second. Ariana slowly nodded toward Logan's hand still wrapped around her wrist. "Go on," she added softly. "If that's the best you've got, you're going to be very disappointed." The words didn't shout. They sliced. And in that instant when Logan believed he was in full control, he had never been more wrong. Because what Ariana said next would freeze the entire gym, though they still laughed right before the storm hit. The noise in the gym swelled like a living beast, shoes squeaking, voices buzzing, basketballs bouncing, yet none of it seemed to touch the circle forming in the center of the court. Students gathered fast, drawn by the gravitational pull of confrontation, until a full ring of bodies closed around Ariana Brooks and Logan Pierce. Mason Hale shoved his way to the front, phone raised, recording every breath. Theo Grant stood behind Logan, arms crossed, watching not Ariana but her posture, her breathing, her stance. Something about the way she held herself made his eyebrows twitch. Logan dragged Ariana's wrist higher, bending it just slightly, not enough to break, but enough to hurt, enough to humiliate. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," he snapped. Ariana did. Her eyes lifted slowly, calmly, with no panic or fear, just a quiet steadiness that made the moment stretch thin. And then she spoke, not loud, not angry, not dramatic, just clear. "I warned you." Logan narrowed his eyes. "Warned me about what?" Ariana didn't blink. "I'm a black belt in karate." For exactly half a second, silence fell. Then it exploded. The entire gym erupted in laughter. Loud, mocking, cruel. A wave of students leaned forward with giddy disbelief. Black belt? In her dreams. She's tiny. What is she gonna do? Meditate at him? Mason zoomed in on her face, howling. Yo, say it again. Say it again for the video. Even Logan laughed, shaking his head like she had just told the best joke he'd heard all month. A black belt, he sneered. Sure, and I'm the president. He squeezed her wrist harder, much harder this time, enough that a normal student would have cried out. Ariana didn't move, not a flinch, not a breath out of rhythm. Logan leaned closer, lips curling. You really think that line's gonna save you? She didn't answer, and that made him furious. He stepped forward, bringing his face inches from hers, voice rising to reach the entire gym. You want to pretend you're tough? Fine. Let's see how tough you are now. He jerked her wrist sharply, an intentional move to make her stumble, fall, or at least gasp. But instead, Ariana looked at him, really looked. Her expression shifted. Not a smile, not fear. Her eyes, once soft, patient, turned cold. Sharp, precise, predatory. It was a transformation so small, yet so absolute, that even Theo inhaled sharply. A chill skated up Logan's spine, though he forced himself to ignore it. Why are you looking at me like that? He snapped. Ariana spoke softly, but her voice carried. Because I warned you, she said, her gaze locking onto his like steel. And you didn't listen, Mason whispered behind the camera. What the hell? Ariana's entire presence changed. Her shoulders set, her stance shifted, her weight lowered ever so slightly. It was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye. But Theo saw it, and for the first time, he felt something unfamiliar. Concern. Logan, oblivious, barked a laugh and shoved her shoulder. Stop acting tough. You're embarrassing yourself. Her eyes didn't waver. The crowd fell into an uneasy murmur. Something felt wrong. Off. Like the air had thickened. Like they were standing too close to something dangerous. Logan spat. You know what? I'm done talking. He stepped back, tightening his fists, then stepped forward fast. A full swing. His biggest. His signature intimidation move. A move designed to terrify. A move that had worked on everyone else. But as his arm came forward, Ariana blinked. Once. Slowly. Her pupils sharpened. Her breath steadied. Her focus narrowed to a single point. A storm gathering behind calm eyes. And in the space between that blink and Logan's strike, everything ended. Logan kept attacking, and that was the moment the storm finally broke. The moment Logan Pierce lunged, the world seemed to inhale every sound in the gym, collapsing into a single, deafening silence. His arm cut through the air in a wild arc, fingers curled, muscles flexed. A punch meant not just to intimidate, but to dominate. To end the moment, with Ariana flinching, stumbling, broken in front of a cheering crowd. That punch had worked on dozens before, but not today, not on her. Ariana's reaction was instantaneous, so fast it looked unreal, almost cinematic. Her feet pivoted on the polished court with a whisper-soft glide, her body twisting at the waist in a precise quarter turn, letting Logan's momentum pass harmlessly by her shoulder. To most students, it looked like magic. To the trained eye, it was discipline, years of technique condensed into a single, perfect move. Before Logan even understood she had moved, her hand shot up like lightning. She grabbed his wrist, locked her elbow, shifted her weight. And then crack. A flawless joint lock. Clean, sharp, effortless. Logan's entire body folded downward as pain ripped through his arm. His scream tore across the gym like a blade, silencing the crowd instantly. Mason's phone jolted as he gasped, mid-recording. Theo's eyes widened not in fear, but in shock. No one had ever made Logan Pierce scream like that. Ariana didn't shout. She didn't tremble. She didn't even breathe harder. She simply held him there, one knee bent, body anchored perfectly, controlling his entire frame with one hand. Logan thrashed like a trapped animal. "Let go! Let go!" he screeched. If she had wanted, she could have broken his arm cleanly. Everyone could see that. Every student watching felt the realization sink in like ice. Ariana wasn't weak. She wasn't bluffing. She wasn't normal. She was something else entirely. And then, she released him. Not gently, not mercifully, not out of compassion, but deliberately, calculated. She let go at the exact moment his weight pitched forward, sending Logan stumbling violently, crashing face first onto the hardwood floor. The impact echoed across the gym. Students flinched. Some covered their mouths. Others whispered, "Oh my God," but no one laughed anymore. Logan groaned on the ground, clutching his arm, humiliated beyond repair. Ariana stepped back once, cool and balanced, her breathing steady like she had just completed a warm-up drill and nothing more. It was the quiet confidence that terrified them the most. Not the speed, not the lock, not even the scream. It was the serenity. The fact she controlled the situation completely, without even raising her voice. Something primal shifted in the crowd. Respect, fear, awe. Ariana didn't bask in it. She didn't even look at Logan. Her gaze drifted upward, scanning the ring of stunned faces surrounding her, assessing them, measuring them, understanding them. Then her eyes sharpened, because she sensed something they didn't. Behind her, Mason Hale, desperate to reclaim control of the narrative, had slipped behind her. Phone abandoned, fear replaced by reckless anger. His footsteps were quiet, far quieter than someone his size should have been able to manage. He was hoping for the element of surprise. He leapt forward, arm outstretched, fingers curled like he wanted to shove her hard enough to send her flying. He thought she was focused on Logan. He thought he could catch her unaware. He thought he had a chance. He thought wrong. And this was only the opening shot, the first spark of the firestorm about to consume the entire gym. Because as Mason lunged from behind, convinced she couldn't possibly see him, Ariana moved before he even touched her. The gym was no longer just noisy, it was chaos incarnate. Students backed away from the center of the court, forming a distorted ring of shock and disbelief. Logan lay on the ground groaning, clutching his arm, unable to comprehend how quickly he'd been dismantled. The smell of sweat, rubber, and fear thickened the air. And then Mason Hale charged. He didn't come quietly. He didn't come smartly. He came like a reckless bull, fueled by embarrassment and blind loyalty to Logan. "You think you're tough?" Mason roared, launching himself forward. Ariana didn't even turn. Not until the last second. Her body moved before thought, hips twisting, weight shifting, momentum generating with flawless precision. And then HIP. A spinning kick, clean, perfect, devastating. Her heel connected with Mason's forearm, sending his phone flying out of his grip. It soared into the air, spinning wildly, before smashing onto the floor and skidding several feet across the gym. The entire class gasped. Not because Mason was hit, but because of what the phone had recorded just before Ariana kicked it away. The screen glowed. The camera was still rolling, and for the past minute, it had captured everything. Logan's insults, the wrist grab, the screams, the takedown. Mason's humiliation was now documented from his own device, proof that the bullies weren't victims but architects of their own downfall. Mason stumbled back, clutching his bruised arm. What the how did? He never finished. Ariana stepped toward him, her stance low, centered, perfectly balanced. She looked like she could move in any direction at any moment with power that didn't need volume to be understood. "Back up," she said quietly. But Mason didn't listen. Fear turned into anger, then desperation. He lunged again, swinging wildly, hoping brute strength could overpower technique. It couldn't. Ariana sidestepped, grabbed his shoulder, and used his momentum to flip him hard onto the floor. Mason crashed down with a grunt, breath knocked out of him. Students recoiled, unable to process how efficiently she dispatched him, like she was fighting children, not athletes. Then silence fell, because Theo Grant stepped forward. Unlike Logan and Mason, Theo didn't yell, he didn't posture, he didn't rush. He approached like a man who knew exactly what he was capable of, and what she might be capable of. He clenched his jaw. "You shouldn't have done that." Ariana didn't reply. Her eyes didn't even move toward him. She stood still, controlled, almost tranquil. Theo's muscles tightened. He lowered his stance clearly. Someone who had been in a fight or two. He took a slow breath, calculated the angle, and struck. He aimed for her ribs. Quick, direct, precise, a hit that would have dropped most students instantly. But Ariana, she didn't dodge. She didn't step back. She simply raised one arm without looking and blocked the hit with a perfect, immovable parry. Theo froze, stunned. His knuckles pressed against her forearm, and it felt like striking steel. He stepped back, eyes wide. Ariana finally looked at him, not with malice, not with anger, with clarity. "You should have stayed back," she said softly. Theo had no comeback. For the first time, the three bullies understood something terrifying, something their pride had kept them from seeing until now. Ariana wasn't prey. She wasn't weak. She wasn't pretending. She was a force. For the first time, the bullies realized the truth. They weren't hunting. They were standing face to face with a predator. And the worst part? She wasn't even breathing hard. And just when the chaos reached its breaking point, Coach Duran stormed into the gym, only his reaction was the last thing anyone expected. The gym doors slammed open with a metallic crack that cut through the chaos like a blade. Every student froze, snapping their attention toward the sound as Coach Duran stormed inside. His whistle swung violently around his neck, bouncing against his chest with each furious step. "What the hell is going on here?" he barked. Students parted instinctively, creating a small corridor that led directly to the scene of carnage. Logan groaning on the floor, Mason sprawled beside him, Theo shaking out his wrist, and Ariana standing upright, calm, unruffled in the center of it all. Coach Duran's eyes narrowed, not at the boys rolling on the floor, not at Mason's shattered phone, not at Theo's bruised arm, but directly at Ariana. "You," he snapped, jabbing a finger at her. "What do you think you're doing? Starting fights on your first week? You think this is how you make a name for yourself?" A murmur rippled through the crowd, uneasy and confused. Even the students who hated Ariana knew the truth. She wasn't the aggressor, but Coach Duran didn't care. He towered over Ariana, face red, breath sharp. "I've had enough trouble this month. The last thing I need is some transfer student causing chaos in my gym." Ariana held his gaze, silent, steady. Logan, sensing opportunity, forced himself to stand, wincing dramatically. "Coach, I tried to stop her." He lied breathlessly. She snapped. She went crazy. "That's enough," Coach said, raising a hand but not toward Logan, toward Ariana. "You're coming with me, now." A chorus of shocked whispers erupted. "Is he serious?" Logan started it. "Why is he blaming her?" Ariana didn't speak. She simply exhaled softly, her posture never shifting from calm control. Coach Duran moved closer, anger twisting his features. "You're lucky no one is seriously hurt. Another stunt like this, and you're out of this school. Do you understand me?" But he didn't get to finish, because right behind him Logan moved. Still, clutching his sore wrist, face twisted with rage and humiliation, Logan lunged from Ariana's blind side. It wasn't smart. It wasn't planned. It was pure, bruised ego clawing for revenge before Coach could drag her away. "Don't walk away from me!" Logan roared. His arm shot forward, aiming to tackle her from the side. Students screamed. Theo jerked forward. Mason tried to yell a warning. Coach Duran spun, eyes widening, but Ariana was already moving. Her body dropped low with lightning reflexes, her legs sweeping out in a clean, precise motion that struck the back of Logan's knees at the exact angle needed to collapse his balance entirely. Logan's momentum carried him upward, then downward, straight into Coach Duran. Both bodies slammed together in a tangled heap. The coach fell first, Logan crashing directly on top of him. The impact echoed painfully, bouncing off the bleachers like a thunderclap. The gym exploded in gasps. Coach Duran's whistle skidded across the floor. Logan groaned, face smashed against the hardwood. Chaos rippled again as students instinctively backed up. And there, standing over them unshaken, was Ariana. Her breathing steady, her expression unreadable, her stance impeccable. A girl barely over 5 feet, a girl who had just leveled 2 grown men, one a trained adult, the other a star athlete with a single move. And in that frozen moment, every student in the gym understood. 2 men were lying flat under the feet of a girl who hadn't even broken a sweat. Shouts erupted as students rushed for their phones, and someone sprinted toward the office because the principal was being called in. And that was when everything shifted. The air inside Principal Ward's office felt different from the chaos of the gym, heavier, quieter, charged with an authority that made even the boldest students shrink. Dark wooden shelves lined the walls, trophies reflecting the muted afternoon light. A large desk separated Ward from the 4 individuals seated across from him. Ariana Brooks sat straight, hands resting calmly on her lap. Logan Pierce, in contrast, slumped in his chair, his arm still aching, his pride shattered, masking his humiliation with a show of wounded innocence. Coach Duran stood off to the side, arms crossed but visibly rattled from the earlier collision. Principal Ward steepled his fingers and sighed. "Let's start from the beginning." Logan jumped in immediately. "Sir, she attacked us. She just snapped. You have to do something. She's dangerous." Ariana remained silent. Ward raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Pierce, I will hear from everyone." "In order." Logan's jaw clenched. Coach Duran cleared his throat. "Sir, from what I saw, she seemed aggressive, uncooperative, and—" "Let me stop you right there," Ward interrupted. He reached into his drawer and produced a phone, the shattered screen device retrieved from the gym floor. Mason's phone, still recording when it hit the ground. "I assume this belongs to your friend," Ward said. "And it contains, well, quite a bit." Logan stiffened. Coach Duran's face drained of color. Ariana watched quietly, knowing exactly what would happen next. Ward pressed play. The room filled with the muffled noise of the gym students laughing, sneakers squeaking, and then Logan's voice. Mason's taunts, Theo's comments, the bullying, the insults, the shove attempts. The moment Logan grabbed Ariana's wrist, the mocking laughter when she warned them, and then the scream, the fall, the impact. Coach Duran's mouth fell open, stunned. Logan's face flushed a dark shade of red. "Sir, that's out of context. She did something before that. She provoked us." Ward paused the video and looked at Logan with a cold, level stare. "Pierce," he said, voice low, "this video shows you and your friends instigating, escalating, and then assaulting a student, and Ariana defending herself with restraint." Logan sputtered. "She's lying. This is all because she plans these things. She's trained or something." Ward leaned back, folding his arms. His eyes flicked to Ariana. "She is trained," he said quietly. Logan froze. Coach Duran stiffened. Ariana blinked calmly. Ward opened a folder on his desk and slid a paper forward. "I reviewed her transfer file. Something you both," he gestured to Logan and Duran, "should have done before jumping to conclusions." He read aloud. Ariana Brooks, age 16, former student of Ridgeview Academy, winner of the Junior National Karate Championship, 3 years in a row. The room fell silent. Logan's mouth opened, then closed. Coach Duran swallowed hard, realizing he'd been lecturing someone with credentials stronger than half the athletic department. Ward continued, eyes locked on Logan. "She didn't get lucky. She didn't snap. She defended herself using controlled, non-lethal techniques against 3 attackers. Ariana remained still composed, respectful, but unmistakably powerful." Ward leaned forward. "For someone with her training, Pierce, if she wanted to seriously injure you, you wouldn't be sitting in that chair." Logan shrank slightly, shame creeping in despite himself. Ward tapped the desk. "Now, I'm about to make disciplinary decisions. And believe me, the consequences will not be light." Ariana's gaze met his steady, unfazed. Logan's heart pounded. Coach Duran shifted uncomfortably, and just like that, the board of power began to flip, one piece at a time. But the biggest shift, the one no one expected, was still waiting outside that office door. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, leaving the school parking lot swallowed in long shadows and fading orange light. Most students had gone home. The gates were half closed. The campus felt abandoned quiet in a way that made every sound sharper. It was the perfect place for revenge. Ariana walked toward the lot with her backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, posture relaxed. If she sensed danger, she didn't show it. She didn't need to. Behind a row of parked cars, Logan Pierce crouched low, breathing hard. The humiliation from earlier hadn't faded, it had fermented into something darker, something reckless. "We're doing this," he growled under his breath. "She's not walking out of this school thinking she's better than us." Mason Hale, rubbing his bruised arm, nodded. "Yeah. Lights are low. No cameras, no teachers. This is the only chance." Theo Grant stood behind them, silent, tense. He didn't fully agree with this plan, but his loyalty, or fear of looking weak, kept him here. Logan peered over the hood of the car. "She's coming." Ariana approached, the gravel crunching softly under her shoes. "On my count," Logan hissed. 1, 2, now! They burst from behind the cars. Ariana stopped walking. She didn't flinch, didn't gasp, didn't step back. She simply removed one earbud and tucked it into her pocket. Logan smirked. "What's wrong? No crowd to protect you now?" Mason joined him. "Yeah, you little psycho. No teachers, no principal. Just us." Theo stayed a few steps behind, eyes narrowed not at Ariana, but at Logan's shaking hands. This wasn't confidence. It was desperation. Ariana looked at each of them in turn, her face unchanged, her posture almost peaceful. "You want another round," she said softly. "After what happened today?" Logan sneered. "You caught me off guard, that's all. But now?" He cracked his knuckles. "Now we'll see how tough you really are." Ariana exhaled slowly. "All right," she said, "if that's what you want." It wasn't a threat. It was permission. Logan charged first, rage blinding every ounce of judgment. He swung wildly. Ariana stepped aside, pivoted behind him, hooked her arm under his elbow, and swept his leg in a single, seamless motion. He hit the ground before he even understood what she'd done. "Get her!" Mason yelled. He rushed in next, aiming a clumsy punch. Ariana twisted, grabbed his wrist mid-swing, and used his own momentum to flip him over her shoulder. He landed flat on his back, the breath punched out of him. Theo hesitated. Ariana looked at him not with anger, but with something like disappointment. "If you attack," she told him, "I won't hold back this time." Theo lunged anyway, but slower, conflicted. Ariana slid beneath his arm, swept her leg low, and dropped him cleanly. He rolled, stunned, unable to get up. Logan scrambled upright, face burning with humiliation. "Stop running!" he screamed. "I haven't moved," Ariana replied. Logan charged again, and Ariana's stance changed. Lower, sharper, different from before. A technique she hadn't shown in the gym. An advanced form. She struck once open palm to his chest, perfectly timed with his forward motion. The impact wasn't loud, but Logan flew backward as if hit by a truck, collapsing onto the gravel with a strangled gasp. 40 seconds had passed. 40 seconds. And all three boys lay on the ground. No screams. No applause. No phones recording. Just the hum of distant traffic and the echo of their own collapse. Ariana stood over them, perfectly calm, adjusting her backpack strap. "Walk away next time," she said quietly. "If there is a next time." She turned and left the parking lot without looking back. Logan groaned, rolling onto his side. She's a monster." "No!" Theo whispered hoarsely. "She's trained, and you trapped us with her." This time, there were no cheers, no spectators, only silence, and the sound of bullies hitting the pavement. By morning, word of the parking lot incident spread across the school, and the administration had no choice but to launch a full-scale investigation. The boardroom at Northview High had never felt so full. Long oak tables stretched across the room, lined with stern-faced board members, anxious teachers, and parents whispering behind folded arms. The blinds were half closed, leaving sharp stripes of morning light cutting across the polished floor. At the center sat Principal Ward, leaning forward with his hands clasped. Across from him sat Ariana Brooks, composed and silent. Next to her, a row of teachers shifted uncomfortably. On the opposite side, a stiff, pale-faced Mrs. Pierce sat gripping her purse so tightly her knuckles whitened. "Let's begin," Ward said, voice steady. The meeting opened with a flood of evidence, not just Mason's recording, not just the gym footage, but a series of older clips dug up by students overnight. Videos that had been forgotten, deleted, buried, whispered about, but never proven. Now they played one after another on the large screen. Logan, shoving a freshman into a locker. Mason, tripping a student carrying art supplies. Theo stealing someone's phone while laughing. The three of them cornering a classmate behind the bleachers. Gasps filled the room. Parents exchanged horrified looks. Teachers lowered their eyes, ashamed they'd missed the signs. Mrs. Pierce stood abruptly. "That's taken out of context. Logan is a good boy, he's under pressure." Ward, raised a hand, stopping her. "Ma'am, your son has a documented pattern of aggression. And after yesterday's incidents, including the parking lot confrontation, he is facing potential long-term suspension or expulsion." Logan, seated beside his mother, clenched his jaw. Despite his injuries, he looked furious and cornered. "This is all her fault," Mrs. Pierce snapped, pointing at Ariana. "She's violent. She's dangerous. She had no right." Ariana finally spoke. Her voice was calm, steady. "Ma'am, I defended myself," Mrs. Pierce scoffed. "You broke my son's arm," Ward interjected. "Actually, she didn't. Medical reports state that Logan has a sprain, not a fracture. And from what we saw, Ariana showed considerable restraint." A murmur of agreement rose around the room. Ward turned toward Ariana. "You've shown discipline far beyond what we expect from any student. You could have seriously injured them, but you didn't." Ariana remained still, eyes down for the first time. A teacher whispered from the corner, "She's the only one here who acted responsibly." The room settled. Everyone waited for the next move. Logan stared daggers across the table. His mother fumed. Ward cleared his throat. "Ariana, under school policy, you are entitled to request disciplinary action against Logan and his friends. Given the evidence, the board would fully support that. Do you wish to proceed?" All eyes turned to her. This was her chance, her moment to get justice, to end the bullying once and for all. Ariana raised her head, and what she said stunned the room. "I don't want him expelled." Silence. Pure, stunned silence. Ward blinked. "You don't?" Ariana shook her head gently. "Punishing him won't change anything. He needs to learn, really learn what he did, not be thrown out for it." Mrs. Pierce stared at Ariana as if she'd spoken another language. Theo, sitting in the back, dropped his gaze. Something in him cracked pride, guilt, maybe both. And with those unexpected words, the room already shaken was forced to confront a truth no one had anticipated. Ariana wasn't seeking revenge. She was seeking something far more unsettling: growth. The disciplinary council room felt colder than usual, as if the tension soaked into the walls themselves. Rows of teachers lined the edges of the space, arms folded, whispering among themselves. A few students, selected witnesses, sat stiffly, their eyes darting between Ariana and Logan. At the center of it all sat Ariana Brooks, spine straight, hands calm. Across from her, Logan Pierce shifted in his seat, trying to look unaffected despite the bandaged wrist and bruised pride. Principal Ward cleared his throat. "We are reconvening to finalize actions regarding the incidents involving Miss Brooks and Mr. Pierce." His voice was firm, but not hostile. "Ariana, as stated earlier, you may pursue formal charges under school policy. Are you certain about your decision?" Every teacher leaned forward. Every student held their breath. Even Logan stopped fidgeting. Ariana nodded once. I'm certain, Ward pressed gently. You understand that with the evidence we have, Logan could be suspended, removed from sports, or even expelled. I understand, Ariana replied. Murmurs spread around the room, confusion, disbelief, frustration. Why wasn't she taking the chance? Why spare someone who had tried so hard to hurt her? One teacher whispered, "She's making a mistake." Another shook their head. "Or she's braver than any of us." Ward looked at her carefully. Then, "Explain, for the record, why you refuse disciplinary action." Ariana turned her head, not toward the board, not toward the teachers, but directly toward Logan. "When someone hits rock bottom," she said quietly, "kicking them again doesn't teach anything. It only makes them crueler." Logan's face reddened. He looked away. Ariana continued, her voice steady but carrying the weight of her experience. "Logan doesn't need punishment. He needs to understand the consequences of what he does. He needs a chance to change, not a reason to hate more." A silence settled, heavy, electric. Even Ward took a moment before responding. "That is an unexpectedly compassionate position." Some teachers exchanged looks, admiration blending with confusion. But Logan didn't see compassion. He saw weakness. His lips twitched into a small, cruel smirk, the type he wore right before attacking someone. "See?" Logan muttered loudly enough for the room to hear. "She's scared of what'll happen if she pushes this. She knows it wasn't self-defense. She knows she got lucky." A few teachers gasped softly. One parent shook their head. Theo, sitting at the back of the room, shut his eyes in embarrassment. Ariana looked at Logan, not angry, but tired. "I'm not scared of you," she said simply. "I'm just done fighting people who don't want to learn." Logan scoffed, leaning back like he'd just won something. "Yeah, right. Keep pretending you're some hero. Everyone can see through it." Ward's gaze sharpened. "Mr. Pierce, I strongly advise you to," but Logan cut him off. "Whatever. This whole thing is stupid. If she thinks kindness means she wins, she's delusional." Ariana watched him quietly, and for the first time since the gym, Logan's bravado felt hollow. She didn't rise to his insults. She didn't react at all, which frustrated him more than any punch she'd thrown. And mistaking Ariana's grace for weakness, Logan walked out of that room believing he still held power, never realizing he was about to make the final, irreversible mistake of his life. The hallway of Northview High was usually a river of noise, lockers slamming, gossip floating through the air, sneakers tapping against tile. But today, the noise seemed to split around Logan Pierce like a current avoiding a sinking stone. Students glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Whispers followed him like a shadow. "Is that him?" He tried to ambush her in the parking lot. He screamed when she dropped him. Coach Duran got knocked down too. There was no laughter now, no admiration, no respect, only distance. Logan walked stiffly, shoulders hunched, his wrist still wrapped in a brace. He had once moved through this hallway like royalty. Now he felt like a ghost no one wanted to acknowledge. When he reached the trophy case, two of his teammates stepped out from the locker room. Jared, Owen, both wearing the team jacket he no longer deserved. Owen cleared his throat. "Coach said you're off the roster for the season. Maybe next year if things settle down." Jared avoided eye contact. "Sorry, man. It's complicated." Complicated meaning embarrassing, meaning unforgivable, meaning the team couldn't risk being associated with him anymore. Logan tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "You guys know it wasn't my fault." Neither teammate replied. They simply stepped around him and left. It felt like a punch straight to his chest. He stumbled back, bracing himself against the cold glass of the trophy case. Behind it were medals he helped win, photos where he smiled proudly at center court, all now meaningless. He had lost more in 1 week than he had ever earned. A soft voice interrupted his spiral. "Logan?" He looked up. Kelly Rowan stood a few feet away, books against her chest. She wasn't smirking or whispering. She was simply observing, like she had witnessed this fall before it even began. "What do you want?" Logan muttered, defensive. Kelly walked closer, her tone gentle. I wanted to check if you're okay. Logan scoffed. Why? So you can tell Ariana I'm pathetic now? Kelly shook her head. Ariana doesn't talk about you. Logan frowned, thrown off. What? She's not celebrating any of this, Kelly said. She's not bragging, she's not holding it over you. She's not trying to ruin your life. Logan clenched his jaw. She didn't have to. Everyone else is doing that for her. Kelly sighed, shifting her books to one arm. You think she spared you because she was scared, but that's not what happened. Logan stiffened. She didn't let you off, Kelly continued softly. She just gave you a chance to be better. You think that's weakness because you don't understand it. Not yet. Logan looked away, throat tight. He didn't want to hear this. He didn't want to feel this. Kelly wasn't done. You had everything, she said quietly. Friends, a team, a future, and you dragged all of it down with your own hands. Ariana didn't destroy you, Logan. You did. The words hit harder than Ariana's takedowns ever could. Kelly stepped back, not unkindly. If you want to fix your life, you have to start with the truth, not excuses. She turned and walked away, leaving him alone in the hallway with nothing but his reflection staring back at him, broken, cornered, stripped of the false power he once clung to. For the first time in his life, Logan Pierce didn't feel angry. He felt empty, and as that emptiness spread, Logan finally confronted the most painful truth of all. He wasn't Ariana's victim, he was the architect of his own downfall. Morning sunlight spilled across the school courtyard, warming the pavement and casting long shadows from the flagpole. Students milled about in clusters, laughing, chatting, trading homework answers, but there was an unspoken hush whenever Ariana Brooks walked past. Not fear, not awe, something closer to respect. Ariana sat alone on a concrete bench near the fountain, quietly flipping through her notebook as the breeze played with the ends of her hair. She looked peaceful, something rare at Northview High. Then a hesitant shadow fell across her page. Ariana looked up. Logan Pierce stood in front of her, hands buried in the pockets of a jacket he no longer wore with pride. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes red-rimmed from nights he clearly hadn't slept well. For the first time, he didn't carry his usual superior aura. He looked human. Ariana, he said, voice low, rough. Can we talk? Around them, a few students slowed down, sensing the tension. Others pretended not to look, while staring shamelessly from the corners of their eyes. Ariana closed her notebook gently. Okay, she said. Logan swallowed hard, eyes darting away before returning to her face. He faltered. I know you probably don't want to hear anything from me, and I don't blame you. Ariana remained silent, waiting. Logan's breathing shook. His voice cracked. I was wrong. About everything. I thought hurting people would make me look strong. I thought humiliating someone else would make me important. It took getting knocked down literally to realize how stupid I was. Ariana watched him, expression unreadable. Logan forced himself to meet her eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. You shouldn't. But his voice wavered. I needed to say I'm sorry. For all of it. The gym. The parking lot. Everything before that too. Ariana's eyes softened, not with pity, but with clarity. He continued. I get why everyone hates me now. I earned it, and I don't know how to fix it. But I want to try. Somehow, even if it takes months, years. Ariana's face remained calm, still, measured. Logan's chest tightened. Can you say something? Anything? Ariana took a breath, and for a moment, Logan braced himself, expecting condemnation, disgust, or the cold dismissal he probably deserved. Instead, she spoke gently. Logan, she said, I'm not angry at you anymore. Logan froze. Ariana continued, everyone makes mistakes, some bigger than others. But what matters isn't the fall, it's what you do when you're down there. Logan blinked quickly, trying not to let tears spill. He failed. Ariana looked him in the eyes, not with forgiveness, but with honesty. You can be better than who you were, she said quietly. But you're the only one who can decide that. Logan's breath hitched. A tear slipped down his cheek, quickly wiped away with the back of his sleeve. He laughed weakly. You're a lot kinder than I expected. Ariana tilted her head. I'm not being kind, she replied. I'm being truthful. Logan stared at her, something shifting inside him, something fragile, something painful, something real. And then Ariana said the words that shattered what little defense he had, left words that almost brought him to his knees. The gym looked different in the late afternoon light. The polished floor reflected soft golden hues, and the air, usually buzzing with shouts or bouncing basketballs, felt calmer, almost reverent. Students filled the bleachers, murmuring with anticipation, not fear, not gossip, respect. At the center stood Ariana Brooks, dressed not in her school uniform, but in a simple black training shirt and athletic pants. Her presence was steady, grounded, no tension, no anger, only purpose. Beside her, Kelly Rowan organized mats on the floor, smiling at Ariana with quiet pride. Ready? She whispered. Ariana nodded. As ready as I need to be. As the last group of students settled in, Principal Ward stepped forward with a microphone. Thank you all for attending today's self-defense workshop, he said, led by someone who has demonstrated not just skill, but integrity. Some students clapped. Others nodded earnestly. Ward continued, Ariana's actions this week have shown us what strength truly looks like and what responsibility looks like. He stepped aside. Ariana, the stage is yours. She moved to the center mat, bowing slightly. The gym fell completely silent. Hi, Ariana began, voice clear. I know this week has been intense. For everyone. A soft ripple of nervous laughter passed through the crowd. But I'm not here to show off. I'm here because self-defense isn't about hurting someone. She paused, letting the words settle. It's about protecting yourself and protecting others without losing who you are. The students leaned in, captivated not by fear, but by sincerity. Ariana continued, demonstrating a simple wrist escape with Kelly. Strength isn't just technique. It's control, discipline, and knowing when not to fight. Whispers spread across the gym, not mocking, not judgmental, but thoughtful. She demonstrated another movement, fluid and precise. Kelly stumbled dramatically, earning a wave of laughter from the bleachers. Ariana smiled, shaking her head. The atmosphere lightened, warm, and safe. When she finished the last demonstration, she stood upright, hands at her sides. The gym waited. Ariana took a breath. I was taught something when I started training, she said quietly. Something I didn't understand until this week. Her eyes scanned the gym students, teachers, even a few parents who had come to watch. You can't beat darkness with darkness. You don't overpower cruelty by becoming cruel, and you don't fix someone else's mistakes by destroying them. Kelly watched her with admiration. Some students swallowed hard. Others lowered their eyes, thinking of the past week. Ariana continued, What happened in this gym? What happened in the parking lot? None of it made me stronger. What made me strong was choosing how the story ended. The weight of those words settled like gravity. She ended with a soft but unwavering smile. And that's the real lesson. Your power isn't in your fists. It's in your choices. For a moment, silence hung in the air, deep, genuine. Then the gym erupted in applause. Not loud, not chaotic, but honest. Students stood, teachers nodded. Even Principal Ward clapped with a rare, proud smile. Ariana bowed once, modestly, then stepped back beside Kelly. Kelly whispered, You did it. Ariana exhaled softly. No, she replied. We all did. In that gym where the first blow had been thrown, where pride had shattered, where truth had surfaced, a different kind of victory took root. Not the victory of strength, but of restraint, of clarity, of choosing light when darkness would have been easier. Because real power wasn't in the kick that dropped her enemies, but in the grace she showed when she could have crushed them. And just like that, the girl they tried to break became the lesson they'll never forget. Ariana didn't just defend herself. She exposed a system that let bullies roam free and proved that real strength doesn't need noise, only precision. Their downfall wasn't luck. It was the moment they ignored a warning that should have saved them. Now I want to hear from you. If you were standing in that gym, whose side would you be on and why? Drop your thoughts below, because this story hits differently depending on where you're watching from. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next.